Wonderful. Okay. I've yet to see, I'm just scrolling through, I've yet to see someone who says that they came to TCS in any way other than being a student, which I think is very telling. A lot of folks get engaged that way. So very excited to hear from current student chapters later on. Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? I know that we'll have a few people trickle in, but we've got a lot to cover. I know for East Coasters, it's late in the afternoon here, so I want to make sure folks have, you can give us on schedule and folks have time to get on with their evenings after we wrap up. So for those of you who don't know, hi, I'm Trisha Hooper. I'm the current president of the Coastal Society. I took over from Steve, who led us for 3 years through very challenging time with COVID. And so it's my honor and privilege to serve as your president now. I've been involved with TCS as a graduate student. I started back in 2014, and then I've been on the board since 2018. And really excited to have so many of you joining us today from all over, not just the country, really all over the world. I think we've got 1 or 2 international folks on the list, registration list as well. Okay, why don't we move ahead with our first order of business, which is to approve the minutes from the 2022 annual meeting. Hopefully folks had a chance to review. They were included in the registration link, and they're also included in the calendar link. So I would like to ask if there, first order of business, if there's a motion to approve the minutes from the 2022 annual meeting.
I motion to approve.
Great.
I'll second that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Are there any objections to approving the minutes as written?
No.
Okay, you can come off mute or raise your hand. Okay. I'm not seeing or hearing any objections. So a motion to approve the 2022 annual meeting minutes as written is passed. Unless there's anything else that comes in, I don't see anything. So that's great. Nice to get that order of business out of the way. We're going to dive right in with some reflections and celebrations of our accomplishments in 2022. And so we're going to start off, the first part of our meeting is going to be hearing some committee and programmatic highlights from our various different committees and work groups. So we've asked a representative from each of our 5 active groups to give just a brief 2-3 minute update to highlight a major accomplishment from the past year, and also a need or an opportunity or challenge they see coming ahead in 2023. So I'd like to, I'm just double checking to make sure, yep, Sabrina is on. We wanted to hear from the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion work group first. So Sabrina, if you could please come off mute and share your update on behalf of the DEI work group, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, thanks so much, Trisha. Hi, everyone. For those who may not know me, my name is Sabrina Pereira, and I started as a board member for the Coastal Society this January. And I am one of the members on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion work group. And so some of our major accomplishments this last year include finalizing a demographic survey to distribute to Coastal Society members to get a better understanding of the demographics of our membership and gather feedback on, major gaps in, how folks identify and, figure out how we can better improve diversity, equity, and inclusion, within our own organization. We also included the anti-discrimination and anti-harassment policy as a condition to membership for new members. So, when folks, re-upped their membership or became new members this year, they had to check a box saying that they acknowledge that, we have an anti-discrimination and anti-harassment policy. We also have requested that all board members and directors and officers in the Coastal Society participate in annual diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings. And we planned, those of us on the board plan to take these trainings in the next couple of months and reconvene over the summer to discuss what we've learned and some of the benefits to certain trainings and what we might want to prioritize moving forward. We also have been in the midst of establishing an anonymous concern and suggestion box for members to safely share any feedback and ideas about improving DEIJ within the organization. And we have been recruiting new student members at schools throughout New Orleans, even though this is currently on hold, but we're trying to, add and include, a diverse membership from that area. And I guess as far as, a major need in the next year, we've had some capacity challenges in the past year. We have two folks who co-lead the working group right now. They couldn't make it to the meeting today, but their names are Gib Hartley and Kim Corcoran, and they both do a really excellent job leading the work group. The work group has been really dedicated over the past couple of years to, advancing many of the initiatives in the DEI strategic plan. However, it seems like a lot of people are experiencing capacity issues with the return to in-office and in-person work, and just with there being more traveling and more meetings throughout the day. There's just been mostly a capacity issue in the last year. So if anybody would like to put their hat in the ring for the DEIJ work group, we would take any and all helpers. But I think those are my updates. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Sabrina. Great to hear all that's been accomplished. And thank you for your leadership as a member of the work group and now on the board as the liaison to the work group. All right, next up, we're going to hear from our Margaret A. Davidson, or MAD, Career Workshop Committee. I see we have both co-chairs, Jeff Flood and Tom Bigford on, so I'll kick it over to both of them. I'm not sure which one of you wants to lead this one, but would love to hear from either of you some brief updates.
Jeff, you want to start?
Sure. So hopefully folks here, at least board members, had a chance to look at the Jamboard that Tricia was nice enough to create with some of our brainstorm ideas. So what I did was I tried to do sort of a flow chart, some concrete steps that we can kind of rally around, combined with some updates for both the MAD Career Development Committee and our separate development committee. As many folks know, they're very much intertwined in terms of revenue planning, outreach, engaging, underserved communities, and just anyone in the coastal realm. So to that degree, we're working with DIJ as well on that shop. So basically with the MAD workshops, it is a capacity issue. Sabrina noted for her update just a moment ago. And to pull off one of these workshops, it is going to need to be an all hands on deck effort to get at least 3, ideally maybe 4 folks to do these workshops and be able to generate the planning, the process. It's not rocket science. We've got it down to a science, really an easy plug and play. We just need bodies to help coordinate these events. And especially if we do shift to more in-person workshops as folks are kind of getting back to normal, so to speak, we need to have folks who might be able to travel, might be able to, regional hubs, that sort of thing. So it's going to take capacity first and foremost. There is a huge demand for the student chapters with TCS, for other organizations, partnerships like Sea Grant. And, we definitely want to continue this. But if we're not able to rally that support from the board or from the membership here on this call, then we're going to need to find some way to preserve this as sort of a trademark TCS capacity, or a product that can be sort of put dormant, or if we were to merge with another organization. I'm sure that Tricia's mentioned those. I apologize for joining a little late, had some IT issues, but if those different things are in play, we want to keep the MAD, just that program is something that we can continue in Margaret's legacy, in the TCS name, and to have it in a nice package deal. So if we do get future sponsorships, or we do a merger, is a dormancy issue, whatever the status that this group decides, we have that, and no one gets to really steal credit for all the hard work that the TCS has put into developing that. So I'll pause there. Tom, you might have some initial thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I'll just focus on what we did in the last year because it was noteworthy in several regards. We had another one of our workshops last December in New Orleans, and it was markedly different from all the other ones in that we focused quite a bit on high school and early college students. About a third of the audience was under 20, and that was very different from other ones. We also had great financial support so that we had no registration fee, and we also met in person. So it was different with COVID with respect to charging registration fees. We avoided that. That turns out to be a stumbling block for people, and it's also more work for us. So getting good sponsorship made it a lot easier for us to streamline administration. It was very successful. We tapped into the Gulf of Mexico monies from the Deepwater Horizon spill. There are millions and millions of dollars down there, and it's a good place for future workshops if we can deal with the capacity issue that Jeff mentioned. So I'll
Well
stop
said,
there.
Tom. Well said. Yeah, it's really, to reiterate that point, there is tremendous demand. There's tremendous interest from partners, and we're still trying to reach more underserved communities and programs, institutions that are not the usual TCS kind of flagship student chapters. So there's definitely demand. We just need the capacity to kind of execute that.
Yeah, we definitely tapped into to a different audience in New Orleans, especially in high school.
Great. Thank you both for those updates. Yeah, and it was really inspiring to see pictures of that in-person workshop in New Orleans and hear the testimonials. So thank you. I'll pass it over now. I think I saw Ashley Gordon is on.
Yep,
Yes,
I'm here, Trisha.
So if you want to give an update on the Coastal Connections series, that would be wonderful.
Yes, and apologies for joining a little late, but good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, for the Coastal Connection series, for those who aren't familiar with it, we have two types of sessions as part of the series. We have our trending topic session, which is focused on more pressing coastal issues and recent updates in the field, and then our professional spotlight sessions, which are members only benefit and are focused on talking through the career journey through a coastal professional and an opportunity to gather insights there and kind of lessons learned and professional development tips. So in 2022, just to briefly recap, we had 4 sessions. We had a trending topic session focused on the art and science of projecting sea level rise, as well as one focused on adapting to sea level rise. And then more recently, just a couple months ago, we had a session on NOAA's National Marine Sanctuaries programs. So all of those sessions are recorded and available on our YouTube channel, and I can drop a link to those in the chat for anyone who's interested in checking those out. And then we've also had 3 professional spotlight sessions, 2 in 2022, one more recently. And Dr. Larry Cahoon, who's also on the TCS board and I believe on the call today, was our featured speaker last time. Those sessions are also recorded. We don't post those links publicly, but they are available to members. So if anyone is interested, please feel free to reach out to me or the TCS Connections Gmail email as well. And then just in terms of upcoming events, we're planning a blue carbon focus session in June. I think Adrienne Loffer is on the line and she's helping to plan that session as well. And also certainly want to acknowledge our core planning team, which includes Steve McLeod and Melanie Perello. So that's it for me.
Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, really great to hear about the diversity of different speakers and topics that you've covered. And moving right along, would love to hear from Alexis on updates and needs from our communications committee.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Alexis Maxwell. I'm a TCS board member and then had the pleasure of joining the comms committee as a co-chair earlier this year. So I wanted to start off similarly with some accomplishments. So we this year revamped the way we take in comms requests. I think the system has been great. It's allowed us to stick more easily to target dates and get tasks done and get this amazing work out there. We also have gotten back to regularly scheduled meetings about monthly. So seeing that engagement increase has been great. And we also started to refocus our social media. We really hope to beef up, especially our LinkedIn page this year, because LinkedIn can be just such a great networking tool and mode of communicating. So please follow us. I'm going to put our LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter in the chat right now. And those links are also at the bottom of the TCS webpage. So please follow along and also share really widely with your networks. We'd love to build our base on social media. And some opportunities to engage with our great committee. We are looking for a comms committee co-chair. So I guess technically right now I'm just the chair, as my co-chair did recently step down after supporting the committee for a long while. So I would love to work with someone supporting the committee and increasing comms engagement. And we also really need website and social media help. So these are great opportunities to build your comms, toolbox, and also it's really fulfilling to share all this great work. So that's it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alexis. And apologize, I realized Tom and Jeff kind of lumped your development and fundraising update kind of closer with the MAD workshop since they are so connected. I just kind of randomly put the different updates on the list here. But if there's anything you wanted to share specifically on the fundraising and that side of the development committee's work, would love to hear from both of you as well on that.
Sure, I can kick it off again. I would say this is there's the good news, there's capacity, reality, but we just had a great call with Judy and Tom, myself, and Andrew Wilson, who's on the committee and on the board. And we just had some just thinking outside the box and what was working, the intertwined relationship you just mentioned, Trish, between these two committees. How do we kind of, break that out? How do we diversify what we offer in terms of what, the membership value of TCS, getting sort of sponsorships from organizations that would like to have products like DIJ best practices or trainings, or these MAD workshops, or access to the Coastal Connection. So all these different things, all the great work that we're doing that folks are reporting out on, how do we sell our capacity or our abilities to a sponsor? So we thought that, again, getting back to the spirit of in-person workshops, and also trying to find regional diversity. Tom had mentioned New Orleans, kind of breaking ground down there, and connections and partners. We wanted to see about all different regions and see where the membership could be tapped into to bring back sort of a pseudo and call it just a workshop, or just a seminar where folks get together and they hear about a topic that means something to them, that has an expert in their field, comes to talk. There might be a career development capacity part, and there might just be a simple networking area. So you got the professional development for all stages, you got the young professionals and students, and then you've got having that professional networking just in general. So we just thought, instead of a full day or a half day or whatever, it's just a small get together that's organized by regional TCS members and their networks. So you're providing services, you're giving kind of a teaser to membership, and you're just having members kind of help the process of building TCS and what we can provide. So Tom, anything to add to that?
No, nothing. Nothing. No, that's good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for staying on time. I think that's the first time in my life I've asked people to give a 3-minute update, and every single person actually kept their remarks brief. I'm very impressed and appreciative that we're on time right now. Before we transition, does anyone have any questions for any of our presenters about these updates? Again, if you want to learn more, see more detailed information, please take a look at the annual report that's linked in the meeting materials. There's a lot of more great information there, as well as on our website. But if anyone has any burning questions, please feel free to raise your hand or enter into the chat before we move on. Okay. Hearing none, Judy, if you could go to the next slide, please. We're now going to move into our student chapter updates. And so I would like to invite the chair of our chapters committee, Kara Nunnally, to just first sort of introduce what the student chapters are and sort of how the committee works with them. And then Kara, if you could also introduce the various student representatives that we have on the call to give their updates from their universities, that would be wonderful. So I'll kick it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Trisha. And hey, everyone. Good evening or good afternoon. As Trisha said, my name is Kara Nunnally, and I am the chair of the committee, or the chapters committee at this time. So the chapters committee, we oversee the 4 operational and 1 reinstated chapter, or soon to be reinstated chapter of UNCW at the colleges and universities around the U.S. Primarily located in North Carolina at this time, and in Florida and in Rhode Island. And so our role as the committee chair is to liaise between the student chapters, as well as liaise between the national organization of TCS. Just a quick overview of this past year of 2022. As Sabrina mentioned earlier, we are identifying minority serving institutions, or MSIs, for recruitment for chapters to be established at those universities around the United States. Overall, we've had a pretty calm academic year, and in the fall, so in the first semester of the academic year, we hosted individual chapter leadership meetings where we met with the officers to just go over the culture of their organization, identify their objectives and their pain points, and really where we could support over the academic year. As I alluded to earlier, we have 4 operational chapters: Duke, East Carolina University, Eckerd, University of Rhode Island, and University of North Carolina at Wilmington will be reinstated shortly. One of the pride and joys of our chapter initiatives is the All Swell podcast, which season 2 is wrapping up now. So kudos to the East Carolina and Duke chapters. And just as a note, all chapters who have reported to date on 2022 are in good financial standing. I think one of the biggest things we noticed over the last couple of months is that there is both a challenge and an opportunity coming out of COVID restrictions at their respective institutions. So we have a lot of opportunity ahead to host more in-person events, get that old TCS feeling back up and running, get a lot of membership and a lot of networking opportunities. But there is a challenge with capacity, as we have alluded to before, and honestly, just some different structural changes at universities given the COVID history. So a beautiful blessing in one respect that is coming out of the last few years. So with that said, I'm just going to take a quick moment and scan the participant list. I do not believe we will have a representative from the Duke, Eckerd, URI, or UNCW chapters given bandwidth. So I will give a quick update for Duke. I'll just go down the list here. But before I do that, do we have any Duke students on the call? I don't think we do. All right. So for Duke, one accomplishment that they had in 2020, or two accomplishments that they had in 2022 was first continuing into the second season of the All Swell podcast. They've had some really fantastic episodes. I highly recommend you all listen. I will link it in the chat after my session is done. And they also planned for their MAD virtual workshop, which was held in January of this year. So in the fall last year, they were planning for it. One area for support for 2023 that they shared is that they would really benefit from assistance in recruiting new members, receiving tips to reach more students, and ways to keep them engaged. As a note, to date, they have not elected a board for the 23-24 academic year, despite calls for nominations and direct contact with several first-year students. So that has been a challenge and a blocker, but also an opportunity in and of itself to reform and rethink that chapter. As for Eckerd, I do not believe our Eckerd students are on today. Please correct me if I'm wrong. All right, hearing none. At this point, I have not heard from their leadership team with regard to their 2022 annual report, but their faculty advisor is on leave currently, and I believe that they are currently also in the exam period. So that might be our lag time there. So I do not have anything to report at this time on Eckerd. As for East Carolina, we do have some student representatives here on the call today. So Gigi, Allison, I will let you all jump in to share your accomplishments in 2022 and your areas of need and support moving into 2023.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Kara. Hi, everybody. I was the president for 2022, and we had elections at the beginning of 2023. So Allison is the new president for our chapter. She's graciously taking it on. For 2022, I guess our biggest issue was that we had our historian and our classmate pass away in January of 2022. And so we really struggled with that, and still coming out of COVID restrictions. We're very thankful for the podcast though, because that allowed us to share our thoughts and, in memoriam to our classmate, do a special podcast on that. And just keep us in the summer. We kept it going while Duke was transitioning, and hoping to do that as well this summer, as long as y'all and the American Shoreline Podcast Network will have us. We had a second river cleanup in the spring, which we had started in 2021. And then we did that with other organizations at ECU. That was great. We actually were just supposed to have ours last weekend, but it got canceled due to river flooding. So podcast, and we had a couple meetings in person, but now we're finally getting back to in-person meetings for 2023. Our biggest challenge is recruitment and support wise, I'd say I think we would like to eventually do a MAD workshop too within the next academic year for us. But we were really grateful for the support that everybody gave us when we lost our classmate at the beginning of spring 22.
Awesome. Thank you, Gigi. And Allison, we're really excited for you to serve as president this upcoming year. Awesome. Moving on to UNCW. Again, this chapter was not operational during 2022, given some challenges with student bandwidth and again, COVID restrictions, but they are very excited to get reinstated, hopefully, in the next few months. They shared with us that they would like to reinstate because TCS values and goals align with several programs at UNCW, including but not limited to undergraduate and graduate students in the coastal and ocean policy, public administration, environmental sciences, and marine biology and marine sciences schools and departments. I think a few of us here a few of you all on this call today have gone through some of those programs. So very excited to get that chapter reinstated. And their need for support is the reinstatement process, which we're currently working on, and just general support from us to help plan and coordinate between student chapters. Finally, for our students at University of Rhode Island, they are a robust chapter. Their accomplishments in 2022 included successful promotion and expansion of their membership to other departments and disciplines at their university, so including undergraduate and graduate students. And they also hosted a successful student panel with an alumni of their marine affairs program who was involved in one of the largest oil spills in U.S. history. So that was a really exciting event that they hosted. Similar to what we've heard previously from other chapters and their need for support is more support and promoting member recruitment. And they gave an example such as a representative from the national chapter attending our member meeting and briefly discussing TCS and the benefits of becoming a member at the national level. So all things we're currently working on, but just expressing that we need more support for our student chapters. And as Trisha mentioned at the very beginning of our call today, that she got involved with TCS as a graduate student. That's how I got involved. I know one of my colleagues here, Eva, also got involved at Duke while we were in grad school. So it is a really great pipeline and a really strong introduction to TCS that we want to make sure that we're managing. With that, I'll take any questions about our student chapters, but otherwise, again, thank you all for your support. And yeah, serving our chapters is definitely a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Kara and Gigi, those updates. Any questions?
Yeah, I actually have just a quick question for.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you very much. It was a great overview of what's happening with the chapters. You know, obviously they've faced a lot of challenges through the whole COVID situation with all the restrictions. Do you get a sense from the chapters that as those restrictions are easing up, that there will be sort of I'm not sure I want to say reinvigoration of the chapters, but certainly, you know, a stability that would come back to the chapters and hopefully some growth to the chapters?
That's definitely the hope. So as Gigi mentioned earlier, you know, having just meetings in person can really contribute to the overall membership experience, the retention of members, and even the recruitment. And so I think in general, across our chapters, we have seen a dip in membership, which I think also mirrors our dip in membership maybe at the national level. And so offering that opportunity to get that stability back for in-person networking, particularly as an organization really focused on professional development in the coastal sector and across disciplines, I think will lead to more stability, but we're still in that kind of gray area right now. And also we have a trajectory, at least I can speak from the Duke experience, we have a trajectory of students coming in to these programs for 2-3 years, at least from a graduate and professional level, that have gone through the COVID years and are maybe not sure what it looks like to have a fully functional student organization. So very multifaceted, but a lot of opportunity, and feeling very confident that in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, kind of as we cycle through, we will get that stability and that reinvigoration.
Great, thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Any other questions about student chapter happenings before we move on? And again, you can read more about student chapters in our annual report, as well as on the website. And yes, please listen to the Allswell podcast. It's so well done. I'm so impressed every time I listen to an episode. It's been a wonderful offering. Okay, we're still ahead of schedule. Go us. The next thing we want to move into, if we could do the next slide, please. Our awards. We want to continue the celebration and to honor the many dedicated professionals and students who serve not only the Coastal Society as an organization, but really the coastal management field as a whole. So I'm going to turn it over to Judy Tucker, our executive director, to lead us through this portion of the meeting for some good vibes and celebration. Go ahead, Judy.
Thank you, Tricia. Let's start with the Outstanding Service Award. This is given to an individual for their outstanding accomplishments related to the purposes of the Coastal Society and in recognition of their accomplishments in their career and their volunteer activities beyond their involvement in TCS and over the course of many years. And this year, there are 2 individuals who will be given the Outstanding Service Award. The first Outstanding Service Award is to Tony McDonald. Tony McDonald is the director and the founding member of Monmouth University's Urban Coast Institute, which was established in 2005 as a forum for research, education, and collaboration in the development of science-based policies and programs that support stewardship of healthy, productive, and resilient coastal ecosystems and communities. In 2019, Mr. McDonald was appointed to the National Academy of Sciences Ocean Studies Board. Previously, he has served as the executive director of the Coastal States Organization from 1998 to 2005. CSO represents the interests of the governors in the nation's 35 coastal states and territories on coastal and ocean policy matters. Prior to joining the Coastal States Organization, Tony was a special counsel and director of environmental affairs at the American Association of Port Authorities, where he represented the International Association of Ports and Harbors at the International Maritime Organization on negotiations at the London Convention. Tony was the Coastal Society director for 2 years and has been a speaker and member of the organizing committee for TCS career workshops. He attended many Coastal Society conferences. His advocacy locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally, and his enthusiasm for supporting the shared use of coastal resources exemplify the purposes of the Coastal Society. The Outstanding Service Award is given to Tony McDonald. It is also given to a second outstanding individual, Eugene Gino Olney. Dr. Gino Olney has served as coordinator for NOAA's Southeast and Caribbean Regional Collaboration Team for the past 10 years. In this capacity, he works across the agency and with partners to address regional issues and needs within NOAA's purview. Gino has been with NOAA for 25 years, 15 of which were at NOAA's Office for Coastal Management, conducting work on coastal environmental characterization, coastal and ocean observing systems, and science to management applications. Prior to his career with NOAA, Gino worked as assistant director of the Virginia Sea Grant Program and as a fisheries biologist with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Gino has been a member of the Coastal Society for over 2 decades and currently serves as a director. He was a regular at TCS biennial meetings for many years, presenting often and occasionally organizing sessions. His career of facilitating regional coastal management efforts embodies the purposes of the Coastal Society. So Dr. Gino Olney will receive the Outstanding Service Award. Congratulations to both.
Thank you, Judy. And can either you or Emily, I can't remember who's doing the slides, switch to the next one so we can see the description while you're reading? That would be fabulous. Thank you.
So our second set of our second set of awards are the Distinguished Service Award. It is given to a Coastal Society member to recognize an individual's service to the Coastal Society, independent of activities outside of the Coastal Society. This year's recipient has worked for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection on dredging and beach nourishment, and in private industry for WSP on permitting renewable energy projects onshore and offshore. This individual joined the Coastal Society in 2004 and has been a TCS board member since 2015. He participated in his first TCS conference in St. Petersburg, Florida, where he served on the program committee. He was part of the program and plenary committees again for 2 other conferences and at the RAID Joint Summit with Restore America's Estuaries and the last TCS RAID Conference Joint Summit in New Orleans. Who is this? Steve McLeod. Steve was elected president and soon faced numerous challenges related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Steve was responsible for the successful shift of the Margaret A. Davidson Career Development Workshops to a fully virtual format, bolstering revenue and offering many young professionals the chance to learn, grow, connect during a time when this was otherwise very difficult. He initiated the Coastal Connections webinar series, providing additional opportunities for TCS members to discuss career paths and TCS followers to hear from people on the cutting edge of trending coastal issues. Steve brought a sense of community to the TCS leadership during his tenure. Board members could always look to Steve for a fun icebreaker to get to know each other and kicking off every board meeting. He provided an additional stabilizing element by serving a 2+ year term of president instead of the usual 1-year term when he stepped up to fill a vacancy in the president-elect position. As TCS began to encounter some critical capacity issues beginning in the middle of last year, Steve continued to demonstrate excellent leadership and communication by directly engaging board members who felt that their ability to continue serving TCS was waning for both personal and professional reasons. He continuously provided support, patience, and enthusiasm for continuing the great work TCS has accomplished while remaining clear-eyed and transparent about the current challenges faced by the organization. Steve has demonstrated a commitment to coastal issues and to TCS for many, many years while providing leadership, support, and approachability to the TCS board as president over an extended term, navigating the organization through tough times with a positive can-do attitude. Congratulations, Steve, who is receiving the Distinguished Service Award. Steve, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I suppose I'll keep it brief, but thanks very much. Really appreciate those kind words. Walking through a lot of memories for me. Almost 2 decades now. It's hard to believe that's time flies. And my start as well was as a student in the master's program, not as the chapter, but actually seeing a listing of the biweekly posting of the careers. So Judy, that's something that you've kept going for a while, and that's been a benefit for so many years. And that certainly piqued my interest to get me involved in the other ways. But yeah, seeing so many interacting with so many great members and all that we've done has been very rewarding for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Our next award is the Robert W. Connect Award. And this year we have 2 individuals who have been selected to receive the award. The Robert Connect was a University of Delaware marine policy professor, and he helped pioneer the concept of coastal zone management back in the 1970s. Mr. Connect served as the first coastal management administrator of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. This award is typically given to early career individuals who are expected to continue contributing to coastal ocean management and potentially serve as the leader in their field. This year, there are two individuals, the first of which is Ashley Gordon. Ashley began showing professional promise by serving as president of the Phi Sigma Phi National Honor Fraternity at Miami University. While pursuing a master's of environmental management at Duke University, she joined the TCS chapter and also served as an intern at the North Carolina Coastal Land Trust. In 2017, Ashley became a coastal policy analyst at the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, which performs environmental planning activities in the region. During this time, she was elected to the TCS Board of Directors. She has served as the liaison to the chapters committee, and she is on the communications committee. She was instrumental in executing the Coastal Connections series that she mentioned earlier. In 2022, Ashley took a position with Dewberry and is currently focused on providing technical assistance for flooding and sea level rise planning. Ashley is steadily and dependably growing into a well-rounded coastal professional who may eventually serve as a leader in the field and emulates the spirit of Robert W. Connect. Congratulations, Ashley. Would you like to say anything?
Sure. Thanks, Judy. Appreciate the kind words. And thank you all so much. It's just truly a pleasure to be a part of this community and the Coastal Society and to work with all of you. And yeah, just very appreciative for the opportunity and glad to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, and congratulations. The second Robert W. Connect Award for Professional Promise is given to Sabrina Pereira. While earning a master's in Marine Affairs from the University of Rhode Island, Sabrina was co-president of the TCS chapter. Following graduation, she served as a NOAA Coastal Management Fellow at the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Coastal Zone Management Program, researching equity and climate resilience. She joined the Coastal Society's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Working Group, lending her experience to the development of the TCS DEI Strategic Plan and the TCS Bystander Toolkit, which has been shared with the NOAA Office of Protected Resources. Upon completion of the NOAA Fellowship, Sabrina became a full-time NOAA Marine Habitat Resource Specialist in Gloucester, Massachusetts. She conducts essential fish habitat consultations with NOAA's Fisheries Greater Atlantic Regional Fisheries Office. Sabrina joined the TCS Board of Directors this year and serves as the board liaison to the DEI Working Group while continuing to actively participate in that working group. Her commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion is clearly demonstrated in her contributions to the Coastal Society, to her professional work, and to the field of marine science and policy. Sabrina is poised for continued leadership in the field and emulates the spirit of Robert W. Connect. Congratulations, Sabrina. Would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, I'll just echo what Ashley said. I feel very grateful and honored to receive such a fantastic award and to be a part of such a dedicated and smart, hardworking group of professionals here. So thank you so much.
Very welcome. Congratulations, Sabrina. There is another kind of award that we're putting with the award section that is an honorary membership. Honorary membership is given to individuals who contributed to both the field of coastal and ocean management through their work in that field and who have made extraordinary contributions to the Coastal Society. This year, there are two individuals we wish to honor with this honorary membership. The first honorary membership is given to Tom Bigford. One of the earliest members of the Coastal Society, Tom remains a dynamic, sustaining force in TCS today. Before he retired, he served as Marine Habitat Protection Program Manager at the NOAA Fisheries Office of Habitat Conservation. And then he followed that by being the Policy Director at American Fisheries Society, with multiple notable contributions to the coastal fisheries field. Tom has been an active member of TCS for 47 years, joining in 1976. Tom served TCS as its first executive director and was the editor of the TCS Bulletin for 35 years. He served as TCS president in 2015 and 16. He has served as a TCS board member for at least 7 years and on several conference committees. Tom played a pivotal role in initiating the MAD program career workshop series, first assembling past TCS board members on an advisory panel, and then co-chairing the committee, organizing workshops, serving as moderator and/or speaker. As co-chair of the development committee, he was responsible for a grant from the National Science Foundation to develop relationships with faculty at minority serving institutions and to offer career development workshops. He has routinely donated several hundreds of dollars during the annual giving campaign. Tom inspired the namesake Thomas E. Bigford Best Student Presentation or Poster Award, established in the TCS bylaws, and has served as a mentor to many students. He is a past recipient of the TCS Outstanding Service Award and the TCS Distinguished Service Award. Tom has made extraordinary contributions to the Coastal Society and to the field of coastal and ocean management, conservation, and education, and we are very pleased to award him a lifetime membership. Thank you, Tom. Would you like to say anything?
I'd like to say a lot, but I won't. Just thank you very much for everything. I joined as a graduate student, like a lot of other people on the call, and it became family, and renewing has just been an annual event that always reminds me of where I've been with TCS and where we're going. So thank you all very much. I appreciate the recognition, but really appreciate the opportunity to have done all the things with you in the past and more in the future. Thank you.
Congratulations, Tom. And as promised, we have a second TCS honorary membership to give to our dear friend, Maurice Mo Lynch. Mo Lynch is a charter member of the Coastal Society, joining in 1975. As a retired professor emeritus today, Mo's career at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science, College of William and Mary, began as a marine scientist at VIMS, then Sea Grant Director, Assistant Director of VIMS, and Associate Dean. Mo has served in leadership roles at the Chesapeake Research Consortium, Chesapeake Bay Program, Chesapeake Bay Foundation. He served as the Coastal Society President in 1984 and 85, as TCS Treasurer for 8 years or 2 terms, and as a board member for another 4 years. Mo has routinely donated several hundreds of dollars per year during the annual giving campaign. He is a past recipient of the TCS Outstanding Service Award and the TCS Distinguished Service Award. Mo Lynch is an outstanding individual who has made an extraordinary contribution to TCS in the field of coastal and ocean management, conservation, and education. And we are pleased to award Mo a lifetime membership. Congratulations, Mo. Would you like to say anything, Mo? Mo has been on the call with us and may be having some difficulty getting unmuted. Tricia, I'll hand it back to you, and if Mo has a chance to unmute, we'll hear from him.
Sounds good. If you could advance, I think one more, back one slide to there's
Oh,
two
sorry,
more
President.
awards, yes, that I want to give out. So as president in our bylaws, I have the privilege and honor to be able to choose individuals who have really made extraordinary contributions to TCS to also recognize. So all of our other awards are voted on by our board and sort of nominated in that way. And the President's Award is something that I get to do that brings me great joy to be able to recognize other colleagues who have done so much for our organization. So there's two I want to give. The first one I would like to give is to our communications committee team, which is led by Alexis Maxwell. And they've really worked tirelessly in the past year to totally revamp our social media presence, to streamline the way that we submit update requests. They've creatively strategized how we can brand ourselves. And I'm just so appreciative of their efforts to broaden our outreach and be more inclusive in our outreach as well. So big kudos to Alexis and to all the other communications committee folks who really have made great strides in improving how we connect, not just within our community of members, but also with other partners and others in the field. So thank you so much. And the second award I would like to give is probably going to come as no surprise, but it's to Judy Tucker, our executive director. For anyone who's been involved with TCS in the last 30 years, she probably doesn't need an introduction. She's served as our executive director for decades, and she's done so much for our organization. From the overall day-to-day administration to bigger picture strategic thinking. She has a deep institutional knowledge, a real passion for our programs, and she has a fantastic ability to challenge us to think strategically. And it's been invaluable not just to TCS as an organization, but also to many of the individual members and leaders here today, myself included. So I just want to thank you so much, Judy, for your service and for all that you do. So I tried to keep it brief because I know we're a little over time, but just wanted to share my deep appreciation for those recipients of the President's Award. So thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Yes, special shout out to the whole committee. Yep, awesome. Love to see all the love that's being shared in the chat. I love this part of the meeting. So with that, oh, go ahead.
Mo is unmuted.
Oh, Mo, go ahead. We'd love to hear from you if you'd like to say anything. I'm not hearing anything. It sounds like there might be technical difficulties, but Mo, if you want to type anything in the chat, if you're able to do that, that might be a nice way to share as well. And yeah, very well deserved. I don't know, Judy, or if any of the comms committee folks want to say anything, you're welcome to, but also recognize I may have put you a little bit, caught you by surprise, and so don't feel like you need to say anything if you don't want to. But before we move on, you're welcome to say anything if you'd like.
No, just thank you so much, Trisha. I'm so shocked. It was so nice, and I'm so lucky to work with such wonderful people on the comms committee and keep growing our engagement.
And thank you, Trisha. Thank you, everybody. It's been my pleasure and my honor to have worked with each and every one of you. And if there's someone I haven't gotten to know very well, I look forward to. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, if we could move to the next slide, please. We're going to shift gears. So this first half of this meeting has been focused on reflecting on 2022. And now we're going to spend the rest of our time together focusing on what's on the horizon in 2023. And so with that, we're going to have hopefully a time for robust discussion about really what we see as the future of the organization. So I would love to pass things over to our past president, Steve McLeod, who's going to run through some of the challenges that you've heard today, and we can chat about some potential avenues for solution. So if we could go to the next slide, and I'll pass the mic over to Steve.
Yeah, hi all. So as been touched on over the past at the meeting today, and as has been circulated amongst the board and some of the past presidents, we are reaching a point where it's becoming especially burdensome for the existing leadership to carry us forward. We know that it's been an issue with the TCS for many years. We were running relatively strongly for quite a while with our biennial meetings, and that stumbled probably around the time of the housing crisis and the loss of funding to governments to travel and to fund these kinds of events. We were running every other year, but with the Coastal Zone Conference in between, and that was funded by NOAA, and we received a lot of funding from NOAA. Some of that went away, and we carried forward through again the partnerships with for a couple summits with Restore America's Estuaries, and since then we've been trying to find our niche, understanding the value and the potential that coastal society has, but somewhat struggling to find the way to maintain and grow our membership, as well as bring in steady sources of income. We had a strong push with the development of our Margaret A. Davidson workshop program and the career program as a whole, the workshops of which are the mainstay of that program. But what we're seeing, and even as that helped us stabilize our funding over the past few years, we still see a decline in some of our membership, and we still see further challenges of our board and the key volunteers we have in this current age. And COVID has seemed to maybe accelerate that trend. And again, it's been touched on balancing in-person events with the virtual events and the value that TCS originally had in bringing people together. And the new era we have, which is even now so virtually connected that it's perhaps difficult to generate the fresh interest that we used to have, based on what folks can do on their own through LinkedIn and that sort of thing. As well as just, I think the world we are, unfortunately, it's harder for people to unplug. And I think maybe on average, folks are just busier and plugged into more things, and it's harder for them to dedicate their time to a particular organization. So that is somewhat my perspective, conjecture. You know, others have insights on this and their own perspective, but we've identified that we do want to do something. It somewhat came to a head more recently this year with several folks stepping down. We've always had a little bit of attrition and been able to backfill, but we see that we've just been pulling forward without a strong push. And so we acknowledge that this is the time to make that clear to the membership and potentially look for ways to beyond short of some perhaps unexpected reinvigoration of leadership at this stage based on this announcement. What do we do next? How do we transfer, preserve those programs that are worth preserving? How do we maintain the legacy? How do we carry on with our chapters that some are struggling, but others are still interested, and there are certainly members that appreciate that mission. So that is somewhat where we are at. And we wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to hear this clearly from us, and express any immediate thoughts and certainly ideas about how best to move forward.
Thanks, Steve, for that overview. I want to, before we kind of open it up for some interactive polls and discussion here, maybe just provide a little bit more context on the specific challenges that we're facing and really why it's kind of we're at this critical juncture now that's a bit different than where we've been in the past. So as we talked about, we have key vacancies across the board and committees and chapter officers, but in numbers that we haven't seen before. And again, this is just due to people's personal and professional capacity and not being able to engage in the same way. Our membership has been declining, unfortunately, on a downward trend. And as Steve said, COVID and not being able to connect in person, we think is a big part of that. We've also seen disaffiliations and dormancy from chapters, which has been challenging. And then in terms of revenue, again, specifically when we shifted to virtual platforms, it became a lot more challenging for us to bring in revenue because so much of our programming became free and low cost, which is fantastic from an inclusion perspective and making things more accessible to folks, but challenging from a revenue perspective. So just wanted to give those maybe more specific examples so people can kind of understand why we're at this. We're really in a different place now than we were even 5 or 10 years ago, even though some of these challenges have been longstanding. And so on March 20th, the board did get together to thoughtfully assess the organizational health and kind of discuss some realistic courses of action. So we're going to talk about those potential path forwards today and provide time for input. And again, I want to reiterate that all these challenges we've talked about are not from a lack of effort or interest or commitment from our leadership or our members. It's really, I think, reflects a larger societal shift in how people want to engage in these professional organizations. And also the market that we exist in is very different now than when TCS was founded almost 50 years ago. There are lots of other avenues and ways that people are getting the services that we provide. And lots of similar organizations with similar missions. So we really see 3 potential paths forward, given we're at this, this new turning point, I think, for the organization. So I'd like to talk about what those are. So the first one would involve a rapid restructuring. So this would be drastically changing our operations, stopping some of our programming, and really refocusing the limited capacity we do have to meet our most critical needs. And in previous leadership discussions, this has been viewed as a sort of temporary measure, kind of a Band-Aid to see if we can, just keep the lights on, but it's not seen as a long-term solution. It's just, again, sort of hitting a pause button. It's a Band-Aid. It's not a actually getting to the root cause of the issues here. Another path forward would be pursuing a merger with another organization. This would involve passing off all of our existing assets and key aspects of our programming. And hopefully we would do that with an organization that has a similar mission and vision and membership. In previous board and leadership discussions, the general consensus that I found anyway was that this is seen as the more preferable option because it would allow us to continue offering programming and be able to shore up the capacity. And there are a lot of different routes this could take and scenarios that this could look like if we found a willing partner who was interested in pursuing this with us. So that is the second option. And then a third option would be dormancy, which essentially means we stop all of our programming. We terminate all of our contracts, although ideally we would continue paying for the website, and really just completely stop until there is dedicated support to restart our operations. We also realize, again, this might not be a realistic option long-term. It's just a little bit more drastic than pausing. It really would be ceasing. So that's seen as another option. And ultimately, if one of these 3 paths doesn't end up proving viable over the next few months, we will likely be moving towards complete dissolution as an organization by the end of the year. And so the Coastal Society bylaws do have a clause that outlines the process for that. And so in addition to all the steps that would happen in dormancy, a dissolution would involve refunding membership dues, disaffiliating the chapters, and filing paperwork with the DC Corporations Commission to distribute our assets. So I know that's a lot of information to take in. For many of you, and you may be very well aware of this, and for some of you, it might be the first time you're hearing this. But since the Coastal Society is an organization that's run by members for our members, we really wanted to ensure there's ample time and opportunity for you to ask questions, provide feedback, suggestions, as we work together as a leadership team to finalize and move towards one of these paths forward now that we're at this critical juncture. So we have 3 poll questions to gain your feedback and encourage you to share ideas and questions. And how we're planning to do this is we'll launch the poll. You'll see it pop up on the screen. You can type into the poll box your response, and then we'll have a few minutes to discuss those responses and ask questions. So before I dive into the polls, are there any questions about the logistics of that? And we'll get into the discussion once we have the polls that come up. Jeff.
Thanks, Tricia. And Stephen, both very helpful, providing that kind of background. Tricia, you mentioned like a 2-month horizon to kind of affect some of these changes, or is that the trigger point that you're thinking of, that something has to change within 2 months?
Yeah, well, the ultimate thing is the contracts that we have in place through the end of June. So we need to figure out, not necessarily have it in motion, but have a decision on which of these we're moving forward with by the end of this quarter, because that will affect what contracts and other commitments we have going forward for the rest of the year. So it's not necessarily that it has to happen by the end of this quarter, but we need to have a clear decision on which direction and be actively working together to move towards that direction by the end of this quarter. That's my current view.
Great, thank you.
And I think it's important to mention that the board has not taken any action on this. These are ideas that are being floated, and it will ultimately be up to the board to decide the path forward.
Thank you for that, Steve. Yeah, we had an initial board discussion in March, as I mentioned, and hoping to have this feedback from the broader membership to inform our next board discussion in May, where we will actually be, moving forward with making a decision. Thank you for clarifying. That's really helpful context. Okay, with that, if Judy or Emily, if you could launch the first poll, that would be wonderful. So you should see it come up on your screen shortly.
It is launched. Are you seeing it?
I'm not, but I think that's just because I'm a co-host. So hopefully someone who's not a co-host can confirm that it is live. Okay, thank you. So again, if folks can just take a minute to type in your initial reactions, and then we'll view what comes in and have a discussion about that. How are we looking, Judy?
As I said, I can't see any of the incoming.
Okay.
If anybody needs more time, perhaps they could raise their hand.
Good idea. Are folks ready?
Okay. All right. End the poll. Tricia, are you able to see the answers?
I'm not. Can you actually make me not co-host? And then I think it should pop up for me.
No, others definitely responded. I'm only seeing my response. Others just seeing mine about the board existence.
Yeah, I'm just seeing my response too.
I think you have to click. Sorry, guys, for that. This is the first time we've done the polling option, so there was bound to be a hiccup. I think there has to. There's a button to click that says share responses, and that should hopefully have it pop up.
Yep.
Let's see.
My next choice would be to close the poll. However, I can see all the answers.
Okay. I think if you close the poll.
Did you say you
you
can see all the answers? If you want, you might be able to share that screen. Short
I
of
think you just have to
reading.
close the poll, and once you close it, it'll share everybody's answers.
Thanks, Emily. I'm used to polling on Google Meet and WebEx and all these other platforms, but not Zoom. So thanks everyone for your patience. While we're working through it, if anyone does want to come off mute and and share an initial reaction or a thought, you're welcome to do that. And we really want to hear from folks. So please, if you would like to elaborate on your response, you're welcome to do so.
I've got a few thoughts, Tricia. This is Tom. The first hour of this conversation was just really uplifting and exciting and successful, with an awful lot of enthusiasm and across the board. And I just hope that we can find a way of continuing that, but we need capacity. We need more members. So I think we have to give a lot of focus to getting more people behind the good ideas that we have. Even if we're by ourselves or if we merge, just need an influx of people.
Yep, that's exactly the point. We're sort of in this catch-22, I think, where we need more capacity, we need more people to continue the programming, but in order to attract more people, we need the capacity to do that. And it's been a challenge, and particularly with the resignation of some key leaders. Again, not because of anything to do with TCS, because of their own personal schedules or changing jobs or what have you. Yeah, it's been a challenge. Okay, I see you're sharing. Great. Thanks for sharing, Judy. Disappointed but sympathetic. Yep. Thanks everyone for adding this. Okay, for the sake of time, if we could launch the second poll, that would be great. And I think you can just, I don't know that you have to share the slides again, because it should just pop up with the question. Whatever is easiest, Judy. So thank you for being our tech person. As I said, she does a lot for the organization. So.
Well, now I've lost all the controls.
I'm the host now. Okay. Let me.
Oh, that's what. Okay. See.
All right, try that now. While she pulls it up, I can just verbally share. The poll question is going to be, what are your ideas, specific ideas for how you'd like to see TCS move forward with a merger, restructuring, dormancy, or something else? Again, recognizing that in an ideal world, we would have all the capacity and could just continue forward, but the reality is much more challenging than that. And again, while we're waiting, if anyone does want to just share some initial thoughts verbally or in the chat, please feel free to do that as well.
Trish, I'd just like to comment on the idea of merger and, you know, realizing there are different ways of thinking about a merger. But I think we need probably a little bit more clarity on what that thinking would be, because I really don't see, I would think it would be very unlikely that another organization is going to assume some identity of co-identity with TCS, so that sort of TCS survives in some way, as opposed to simply handing off members and program areas to some other organization. I think TCS,
Right.
identity of TCS is gone at that point.
Well, that's exactly it, right? And I tried to allude to this when saying there are some different pathways that this could go. I mean, a merger could consist of essentially another organization. One that's come up in discussion, though we haven't had a formal proposal put together, is SURF, the Coastal and Estuarine Research Federation, that we've partnered with before on many different initiatives, and we have a lot of overlapping members already, and they do have much more capacity in terms of the number of people, the funding they have coming in through grants, all of that. And so again, that would be something we would have to work out of, would it just be them, you know, functionally taking over the programming so that the programming lives on? You know, typically with any merger, the name of the entity goes away, but the services that it provides are able to continue under the new umbrella. And so it would be figuring out what those details look like. The reason that a merger seems to be of interest is, again, because it would be a way to immediately infuse capacity to carry on the parts of our programming, particularly things like the podcast, our workshops, that are our web series, you know, the programming that really offers a true value and benefit to our members, but that we're struggling to be able to continue to do with, again, just because we don't have the volunteers. We're an entirely volunteer run institution, and it's a challenge to get people to commit to doing that, understandably, right now. So that, again, those details would have to be sorted out through a formal proposal, but it could go a few different routes. But ultimately, yes, I mean, TCS wouldn't exist as its own entity if it merged with another one. They would essentially be taking over our assets and working with us to implement our programming. I'm hopeful we could keep, you know, like the Margaret A. Davidson name on the workshops, for example. But it wouldn't be a partnership. It would be a merge with another organization in that instance.
It appears my poll disappeared.
I think Judy closed it and she's
closed
sharing
it.
the answers. Yeah. Okay. Really great. Thank you so much, everyone, for your thoughts. Seeing a lot of interest in merging or restructuring. No interest in dormancy, which is something I think we all share. We want this to continue, and we want to find a creative solution to really be able to do that, to have our programming continue. So that's great. I see a question in the chat. How will student chapters be prioritized or supported in any transition? It's a fantastic question. The answer is in whatever way we can that makes sense with moving forward with this. So again, none of this is happening right now. We need to make a decision on what is feasible moving forward, and are sharing this situation we find ourselves in now with all of you. So there's kind of time to think about it and plan. Again, hopefully, if we could pursue a merger, that would involve, you know, being able to continue to provide support directly to chapters. But those details would have to be sorted out. But absolutely, you know, we want to find a solution that enables us to continue offering the services to our students, as we've talked about multiple times on the call. So many of us started as students in the student chapters, and so that's a core part of who we are and our audience and our community. So we certainly would work with you to figure out what made sense, whatever avenue we went down. I wish I had more specific answer, but at this very early stage, I don't know that we do have something more specific than that.
I will say that we've seen through chapters that have disaffiliated that there's been a couple examples, and yeah, what pathway we take may dictate, but for instance, one, they've gone to just being a local student chapter, not associated with a national organization. So that is one possibility where everything else could, carry on as the current structure dictates. The use of the term the Coastal Society would be a question that we would have to clarify.
Thanks, Steve. And we had one more question, which Junie is loading. And so while she's loading it, I'll just share. Our last question is, how are you personally able to contribute? Everyone on this call is here because they care about TCS. TCS has offered something to them and their own career development. And so again, this is the moment to stand up if you want to help and help us see this through as we transition, whatever the transition ends up looking like. We'd love to hear what capacity folks on the call do have. And to reiterate, the biggest challenge we have right now we have 8 vacant positions across our executive committee, our board, and our various chapter leads. So really the thing that we need to move forward in whichever direction we choose is capacity to do that. So we would love to hear individually, personally, how each of you might be interested and able and willing to contribute in this effort of re-envisioning what the Coastal Society will look like going forward. I know folks are typing, but I'll just say again, if anyone does want to come off mute and share, you're welcome to do so.
Another question. Sorry to have so many. So if we're able to identify individuals that would be willing to join the board, how would that happen? Normally there's a vote required. Is there another process that could be used to get people on the board really quickly?
So we have been able to appoint board members to, because we have vacancies, when there's a vacancy, basically if someone resigns before their term ends, rather than doing a full election, we can appoint someone, and as long as the board approves them, that moves forward. That's what we've done in the past. But I want to reiterate, it's not just the board, right? We have a president-elect and treasurer position that are key leadership roles that we've been actively recruiting for a year and a half that are not filled. We have 4 of our 5 committees that have vacant co-chairs right now. So it would be fantastic if we had, folks come forward to fill the vacancy on the board. But again, I want to reiterate, we need, it's beyond that. We really need probably 7 or 8 leaders who can hit the ground running. And that would just be to bring us back up to baseline, to be able to really start to implement some of the ideas that have come forward. So given how much of a challenge it's been, again, despite revamping social media, doing all these fantastic workshops, doing all this outreach, want to be realistic about how challenging it would be to bring on that influx of people as quickly as we need to. And so again, that's why we're moving towards these different paths, because it really has been quite challenging for us to be able to infuse the leadership that we need to be able to relieve the strain on those who are serving in leadership roles right now. Hopefully that helps clarify kind of the level that would be needed and what the process would be. But yeah, essentially you'd be appointing someone to the board and to the co-chair and that role, and then they're just approved by a vote from the board. I think Steve and Judy are much more well-versed in the bylaws, but that's what we've done during my tenure. So
Yeah, the process for all of these at this stage outside of the normal voting cycle is, it's not onerous. Depending on what we're talking about, a committee chair or an executive position or a board, there are nuances to who exactly nominates or appoints and at what point the board weighs in. But the process is essentially, at this point, if someone came forward, had reasonable credentials, not even necessarily involved previously with TCS, they could be considered for. We could find a way to plug them in as appropriate, but I think finding those dedicated individuals with reasonable experience to get up to speed quickly is what the challenge is. That's getting them into the position, making sure they're effective and comfortable in that position is a slightly longer process. But we certainly do have folks who could help get them oriented if we met that criteria. What we don't want to do, though, is have just one or two folks raise their hand, get them plugged in, and then they're immediately overwhelmed. So we would, the executive committee, I should say, would recommend to the board that we have some kind of threshold that if that really is somehow kind of a viable option to restructure, that we have a threshold that we meet before, pressing go and dragging things out in an uncomfortable way.
Thanks, Steve, for putting that so eloquently. I do want to recognize we are just about a minute before the end of the meeting, and I don't want to have any of us leaving feeling this has been heavy stuff. So I want to leave with a note of positivity and empowerment. So if we could move to the next slide, that would be wonderful.
All right, I was trying to get you some poll results, but I get you.
That's okay. I should say, we've recorded this. We will be sharing the information afterwards for those who couldn't attend. So, all of this has been captured. Yeah, I just wanted to close again. This is the call to action for everyone on the call who's asked thoughtful questions, put in your suggestions, your feedback. We're so appreciative of you making your voice heard. Again, this is a volunteer-run professional development organization by our members for our members, and we're nothing without all of you. So thank you so much. And if you do care, which it's evidence that so many of you do, this is your call to action. So please, thanks for putting in the poll, how you're able to contribute. If there's any other ideas that you have after you've sort of ruminated on this information that you'd like to share, particularly if you have potential connections with an organization who does have capacity and potential interest in merging with us to be able to continue our programming, that would be very appreciative. And just want to, again, say thank you so much. We're so grateful for this community, ranging from students in early career all the way up through retirement. It's such a diverse, inspiring group of people. And despite this challenging juncture we're at, I'm so proud of all that we've accomplished. So yes, the first part of the meeting, as it should have been, was all about our accomplishments. We shouldn't minimize that. We should be very proud of what we've achieved, and we're at this crossroads, but I'm confident we'll be able to move forward in a way that makes sense for the organization and on our terms. That's really the key here, is being proactive and recognizing these challenges, recognizing we need to make a serious pivot so that we can move forward, whatever it looks like, on our own terms as a group and as a team. So with that, again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining and for your time and your enthusiasm. And there'll be much more to come. So again, thank you, and hope you have a great rest of your evening and a wonderful weekend coming up.